So it's probably telling you that I'm recording so that you know.
It actually is. Oh, it is up in the corner.
Yeah, see?
Up in the corner, but it's very small and sneaky. I feel like that's not really telling me that you're recording, because if you hadn't said that, I wouldn't have seen that.
That's what I used to tell the girls. It's really small and sneaky.
Small and sneaky, but still good. What's that?
Yeah, but then that still good part, they'd be like, hey, you said still good.
They're like, this is not good.
Well, this is the end part for the audio version of the episode. But now we're going to start. Welcome to the Bladtcast, live on tape, on digital recording from the quarantine bunker. Although actually I have ventured upstairs because my wife and kids are in the outdoors getting some oxygen. And I'm like, nope, that stuff's overrated. And speaking of overrated, my guest, the incredibly overrated Xia Anderson, Xia Anderson, Xia Bastille Day.
Hi, those are all my names.
I don't get to introduce you anymore.
I know.
We don't show that I'm the moderator / host. And so I never get to introduce you. And sometimes I would be super nice in the intro. And that would really throw you off.
I saved all those.
Yeah.
I have.
Just because it's proof.
Just because it's proof he was nice. No, but when I was working on my reel, I actually did download some of those. So I have them. I do have them downloaded as proof on my fucking disk drive computer, whatever, you know what I mean.
So there's proof. Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Did I just say disk drive? Yeah, I did.
Do you have a disk drive or?
No.
And
that's not where you save stuff either.
Did you save it on your floppy?
On my floppy disk.
Yeah, your floppy disk.
1987. Is that when those came out?
Would you like me to tell you about By the way, it's like 1981, but I could tell you about both of those years. I could tell you.
No, I'm good.
1987, I could tell you a lot more about. I could tell you about the pop music of 1987, 1988 in particular. You know, so if we're
what was the pop music of 1988?
Billy Ocean, Get Out of My Dreams and Into My Car. Bobby Brown,
Out of My Dreams.
Yeah. Get in the backseat, baby.
I know that song.
Bobby Brown had a big album called Don't Be Cruel, and there was a song called My Prerogative on it.
That's not the Don't Be Cruel.
No, that's
Elvis.
Heart,
that's true. Oh,
yeah, that's Elvis Presley, but also covered by Cheap Trick, which was
the version I know.
1988, 1989. So it's the same era.
Elvis fans are going to hate me. I'm not a big Elvis fan. I'm really not. It's fine.
Somebody that I've appreciated as I've gotten older, and even not being a huge fan, Graceland was amazing. Just to see it, it was like super cool, and like his plane is there, and the house is preserved the way it was when he passed away. So it's like, it's not like a museum. It's just sort of like, he's got a jungle room. It's a little bit tacky, and it's my favorite room in the house because it's got this like green shag carpet to be like, the floor of the jungle.
the grass in the jungle, because jungles are very grassy.
By the way, I'm also doing my show from my jungle room. For those looking on YouTube, you can see I have an owl over my shoulder.
There is an owl clock there.
It's an owl clock.
I have nothing interesting to look at.
I know you have a green screen, so you could make it very interesting, right?
Yeah, I haven't figured out how to do that with Zoom yet. Well, I also haven't tried. I'm sure I could, but
I do have a prop for later. After this, we're going to do Marvel movie news. I have my copy of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, which comes in a gigantic box.
That's a big box. You're right. Yeah. That looks like a puzzle. It looks like a box for a puzzle.
It also, inside of it, is this copy of Amazing Fantasy 15, which is a reprint, of course. The first appearance of Spider-Man, little Spidey artwork, and there's also like a film cell from the movie, and then there's like a second disc that's an interview Kevin Smith did with Stan Lee. So
that's fucking cool.
Yeah, this was in the age where it was like, what's the biggest thing we can get you to put on your shelf? Now it's like nobody wants anything on their shelf. But back in 2002, 2003, that's what they wanted. Anyway, Xia Anderson.
Yes, that's me.
This is delightful. I'm glad that we're getting to talk casually, not fixated. Look, I love talking about Marvel, but there's not a lot to say about Marvel right now. So we'll talk about when we do Marvel movie news. That your hand is over the lens.
I keep fucking with it because I didn't. I messed up.
You didn't white balance?
Well, no, I can never get the lighting right in here. I feel like I struggle with that a lot. And I didn't set things up super well before I came on.
Yeah.
Because I last minute saw that for my job, there was something that was like, had these posts go live.
Yeah.
They weren't supposed to, I schedule all the posts. I write them and schedule them. And it wasn't supposed to go live until after 10.
Oh boy.
And I thought I scheduled it properly, but I guess not, because the thing that I use to schedule it is on East Coast time.
Oh boy.
And I guess I just didn't like do the math right, or I don't know what happened. I could have swore I was like, yeah, okay, these are all scheduled, so they'll come out shortly after 10. And they all came out 25 minutes ago. And I was like, motherfucker. So I had to go and delete them all then repost them. Like, I hope I don't get in too much trouble for that. That was not good.
That's not what you wanted to have happen.
No.
Well, that's sort of a great starting point is in sort of all of this craziness is that you're able to still work because what you're working on, you can do from home, obviously.
Yeah, it was always from home.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about what that is, what you can say about it, and, what it is that you're able to work on from the comfort of the palatious Landerson Bastille Day estates.
The estates of a 675 square foot apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah.
I work for a marketing company, and it was somebody that I knew who reached out to me because he'd been seeing the stuff that I've been doing, like all the podcasts and shows and doing my own social media and all of that. And he was like, hey, do you ever want to do any like freelance social media? It was basically like writing and executing a social media calendar. That's sort of where I started with it, but he's been giving me more and more, which has been really cool. It's still part-time. He's been trying to, we had a conversation. He's like the nicest guy in the world. I met him at the gym I used to work at 10 years ago, as I think when I first met him. And we haven't kept in touch, but we've been social media friends for all that time. And so he reached out, and then we, got on a call and, nailed down what I would start doing. And then slowly I've been doing a bit more and a bit more. That's where I do the weekly dose of gaming news videos. He also is a part owner in, maybe you have to cut that part out. I don't know if I can say that.
Well, you didn't say it, so it's okay.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So he's a part owner in McDuck Industries, which is run by Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
And I would like to buy into some shares of McDuck Industries. That's just me. So it's good because this time, not even just last year, this time a few months ago, you were waitressing, and that is a job that you can't do from home.
That is a job that I cannot do from home. So the timing on this, it's funny because as a there's a reason that everybody waits tables in LA, especially if you work at a good place. The money is so fucking good that you get used to, you have to deal with some slow days, but you can still make $200 in 4 hours. And that's already after taxes, because they tax out of your paychecks. As a server, your paychecks just aren't anything. I never worry about them. Sometimes they're $50, sometimes they're $25, sometimes they're $100, it just depends. But for the most part, you just don't really worry about your paycheck, and it's just whatever you take home. But you go from making $200 to $400 in a day, depending where you work. And depending
which usually I can't make anywhere near that much when I'm out back behind the Home Depot with some lotion and the fact that I've got two hands. And
look, the most you can really charge for that is $20 per hand if you can get two going at once, and that's
yeah. Well, that's what
much.
I try to do. I definitely try to work through the line fairly quickly.
One or the other.
So anybody not watching the video version on YouTube, you definitely missed a visual joke, but it's worth checking out. This has kind of been fun doing the Bladtcast this way because it's less technical pressure. And then once I realized that if you record something on Zoom, it doesn't just record the audio, it records the video. I'm like, well, I'm going to do something with that. So all of a sudden, the Bladtcast YouTube page, it's like, hey, look at all this stuff. I've been
look at all the stuff we got.
I know. I was like new videos every couple of days. I like that this is one of your snack videos, although unofficially, because you're snacking on something. What are you having there?
Cough drops.
Oh my God, that's delicious. Wait a minute. You're coughing? Do you have the Rona?
No, I don't think so. It is getting much, much better too. At first, of course, like everybody else, was freaking out. Anytime I feel like now anytime anyone gets sick, they're going to be like, oh my God, it's going to be like that for a while.
Yeah. Like 2 years from now, if you got the actual flu, you'd be like, oh no, this isn't the flu. And right here, right now in Los Angeles, anybody with allergies like myself, oh my God, it's crazy. My eyes are always itchy and coughing. So the first couple of days, I'm like, great, I got it. I don't even know how.
That's what I thought. Yeah. But I don't think so. I think that is just me being crazy.
You don't really go out much, which
I wasn't going out a lot to begin with before this, basically to the studio and the grocery stores, and now I go out even less.
Yeah, so now it's like the grocery stores. You kind of look in the fridge and you're like, nah, you know what? I'll have a mustard sandwich. It'll be fine.
Yeah, whatever I can make work. What do we got here? Yeah. Peanuts for dinner. It is.
Yeah, exactly. So you're in the States, you and your husband, but it seems like you guys are able to keep to yourselves enough, you know. So you know, he obviously right now he's not in your way. He's not in your green screen corner.
He's not in my green screen corner. Yeah. He's in the bedroom.
With the master bedroom.
Yeah. We don't even have a master bedroom in this apartment. That's not a thing. Yeah. It's just a bedroom. The bathroom's nowhere near it.
Interesting thing with me is, and as I've said, I'm recording upstairs right now because I actually have the place to myself, which is insane. The idea that I'm here and it's quiet. And I was like, I started setting up. I tried a few different places, some of the shows that I was doing for AfterBuzz and of course Popcorn Talk as well. And I settled on that back of the garage in front of my boxes of comic books because one, I thought that the visual was kind of cool, but it's also like the quietest place. It's also confined, you know, the audio doesn't bounce around too much. Well, yeah, especially once I started using this microphone. Like I had it and I'm like, why are you being so lazy? Just get the microphone out, you dummy.
Yeah, seriously. Good Lord, Christian. On his phone with headphones in.
There was the Marvel movie days that I did in the car.
Yeah.
People started being like, what are you doing in the car? I'm like, it was the only quiet place I could go. And the crazy thing was like the neighbor started mowing his lawn. And it started raining and I was convinced everybody could hear it, but then I talked to you guys afterwards and you couldn't. But anyway, so finding a place to record, it's sort of been fun because I've recorded usually like after 9:00 at night is usually when I do it because the kids have gone to bed. And it's given me a bit of a hobby. When I was talking in our previous episode with Flobo Boyce, which I don't know if you know Flobo from AfterBuzz.
I've never met him.
Yeah. His big thing that he always talks about when he does his plugs, that if you go to his website, flobito.com, little plug for him, that he generates new content every week. And I'm like, hey, I'm just trying to do the new content like every day, you know? And I think that that's a thing that we're seeing a lot of. Like you and I follow a lot of the same people. Mm-hmm. Jim Norton, Sam Roberts, and then comedians from those shows. And you're noticing that, I mean, especially New York-based people in New York City, where you just really don't want to go out. You're seeing like these comedians in particular, they're doing so much, like, you know, Instagram Live has never been busier than right now, you know, at least as far as I can tell, you know?
Yep. No, for sure. And now we're getting to see, it is honestly a little bit of a treat. Now we're getting to see a lot more Jim and a lot more Chip.
Oh, Jim Norton, yeah, and his character Chip Chipperson, whom, if you remember from a past Bladtcast, I purchased a cameo video for Xia's birthday. Chip Chipperson, who was retired for about a month, and then
came
coronavirus
right back.
happened, and he's like, "Well, this is all I can do."
I think there was even some Edgar out there, some recent Edgar.
I think Edgar might be out there too. And it's a crazy thing to listen to that show, though, because the two hosts, and if somebody watching right now doesn't know the show, it doesn't really matter because the host, one of them is in New York, the other one is actually in Westchester, aka the Best Chester. But the couple of the other guys who work still have to go into that mostly closed down Sirius XM building in the middle of Midtown Manhattan. And, you know, the idea of having to go in there and travel in there, and, you know, the fact that shows like there's still like screening calls, and, you know, Howard Stern started doing his show the same way, where somebody has to be going in and running the board and screening the phone calls. I have no idea who it is because all their main people have like Comrex, Brick, you know, remote setups. So I always think when I'm listening to a show is like somebody had to go into a disease-ridden studio, and I say that because Andy Cohen, from, you know, best known from Bravo, he does have a whole channel in there, and he got the coronavirus. I haven't heard it yet, but he called in and talked to Howard about it. I haven't heard it yet, but so I'm assuming that he's at least doing better from it. But I mean, the idea, if that was my job, which, you know, it wouldn't have been that hard to imagine me having a job at Sirius at some point in my life. I've interviewed for jobs there. Your husband did work there at one point, not in New York, but he did work for the company.
No, he worked there in New York.
Oh, he did. See, I didn't.
Yeah, he worked for Ron and Fez.
Oh, that's right. I did. Yeah. You did. Yeah, I did know that. So yeah. So anyway, so that's the whole point. Is like, oh, if that was my job that I had to go in, I'm like, I don't know that I want to go in. I don't want to necessarily bring it home to my family. And again, we're talking a lot about this one show because it's a little bit of a common ground for Z and I. But Travis Teff, the producer, he does
Trav Dog. Teff Dog.
Yeah, the Teff Dog. Oof. He does. He has a family at home, and he like travels in from I don't know if he's Staten Island or he's New Jersey. I think he's Staten Island. Anyway, whatever he's doing, he's traveling in, and I'm just like, oh man, then you got to go home. It's just that idea, and it's like, in all honesty, like, yeah, it's entertaining. But it's like it's hardly an essential service that's being provided. Like, yes, you're working in the media. There's something essential about the media, but it's like, would we all get through without a month of a professional sounding Jim and Sam show? I think we would, we'd figure it out,
Right. I think that everybody would be fine. And there's something to be said for entertainment being really important in this time.
Yeah,
because
sure. Because
everybody's like, what would you do if you're just at home and you got nothing?
Yeah.
That being said, there's still a lot of Netflix and other things to watch that is already out there and doesn't require anybody to go put themselves into.
Yeah. And here's what I'll say though about SiriusXM, and I let you know about this. They're doing like 3 months of a free trial and like a month and a half of like their premium content. They've adjusted it, so it's like so it's all free right now, which is like
great.
That's a very cool thing because then people get used to it. I mentioned it to a friend who's a little bit older than me, and yes, people are older than me, Xia. Thank you.
I was gonna say what,
and he was like, "Oh, I'm not really in the car." I was just like, "Oh, you could get Sirius for free." He's like, "I'm not really in the car much right now," and I'm like, "No, dummy, you can listen on your computer, your phone, or if you have."
TV.
If you have, an Alexa or one of those things. And that sort of a thing, but I don't know. So it's cool. And then for people with kids, I think it's Amazon Prime. All of their original kids programming is free for anybody. Like, you don't have to actually subscribe. So it's smart that people are doing that. What are you doing with your Q-tip? Are you making a pretend mustache?
It's a pretend mustache. Yeah, it's older than a Q-tip. It's my wrapper from my from my cough drop.
Well, just so you know that's going to be the screen grab of you decided that you needed to do a fake mustache. And again, if you're listening to the audio version, you're going to enjoy this. But man, this video version, there is so much to look at. There's an owl over my shoulder. I already showed you Spider-Man. I could show you again.
More Spider-Man. Wait, what can I show people?
Oh, you know what I have? I brought this for the other show. So I have this is a Mr. T in my pocket is what it's called. So
oh my God!
Don't make me mad. First name, middle name, period. Last name, T. Shut up, fool. Shut up, fool.
That's Felix's favorite one because he knows he's not supposed to say "shut up."
Shut up, fool. I'll pity the fool.
So Mr. T many years ago was a guest on the Dennis Miller show, the radio show. And I ended up with this. And, suddenly you're cleaning things up for the first time in many years and you find things you completely forgot about. And the Mr. T, I keep wanting to call it Mr. T Experience, but that's a band. This is Mr. T in your pocket. So there are fun things here. There's stuff to be had. All right. So we're respectively hunkered down, generating new content, and I am envious of people that are hunkered down without kids. The people who I think, so you're there with your husband. The people who are hunkered down by themselves, and when I was talking to Flobo about this in our previous episode, I legitimately wondered, I'm like, what's that like? When you do go out to the supermarket every 5 days, are you super chatty? And then everybody gets weirded out, like, why are you talking to me? Like, get away, but I just Heather and my wife and I were talking. If it was just the two of us, oh my God, this place would be clean. We would have watched everything on all the streaming services. I would have done, I would have probably been like halfway through a rewatch of all the MCU movies at this point, stuff that I don't even necessarily want to do. But I'm like,
it's there.
The books I would read, the comics I would read, I would just, there's so much that I just can't get to. So are you able to capitalize on that time? Or is it hard because one, you have to work, and then there's also the weirdness / stressed out factor?
It's been a little bit of in between. I'm still actually keeping myself pretty busy. I don't have that much spare time. A lot of the work I've been given because I'm a little like I'm new. I've never worked for a marketing company before. I'm like new to this space. And like I said, the guy I work for is the nicest guy in the world. So he is down for like, he'll help me,
Yeah,
he'll
Scrooge
coach
McDuck.
me.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, Scrooge McDuck. So he's been really cool about that. But whenever like a new thing comes my way, I'm slow starting because I'm like, okay, I gotta like get a handle on what I'm doing here and learn this and like whether it's like, a blog thing or that but once I get it, I get quicker. But anything that comes my way, I'm like, okay, let's figure this out. My newest beast that I'm working with is Reddit, and I haven't spent a lot of time on Reddit. I know what it is, but I haven't spent like a bunch of time in all the subreddits and things like that. So I have to familiarize myself with that and those sort of things. And I'm still shooting videos and editing them. And then also with Twitch too. I've been I want to put more time into Twitch also. Cause that's been.
You're on Twitch,
Yes.
Zealand. And I try to pop in when I can, and I did some screen grabs of you holding up your Bladtcast mug, and I believe I posted them, and it inspired me because I'm upstairs and not in the. I actually have a table in front of me, which when I record down in the back room in the garage, there's no table. I should actually take a picture of the setup at some point. It's like a couple of boxes and I think like a diaper box on top so that I can balance the camera correctly. So yeah, I do think that it's like when you're working from home, I think one, it's good because you have the distraction, you have something to focus on. And look, whatever money's coming in, it's more than would be coming in if you were still waitressing,
Right. Yeah.
So there's that level of it. And then it is hard to then find the time. I mean, look, I get that everybody's talking about Tiger King. And my wife and I sat down and we watched most of one. We just couldn't stay awake. It wasn't because we weren't interested. It was just exhausted. Anytime we do anything, it's like, and look, I've read about it. It's like especially when you're like with your kids all day, and you're like trying to, organize lesson plans and stuff. It's mentally far more exhausting in this sort of a scenario, just because we're under all of this pressure, and it's just like, that's the only way to really deal with it. And it's just like, there are a lot of nights where I do get something done. And then there's the nights like last night, I'm like, I just got to lay down on the couch for like 5 minutes. And then it's like 12:30. And that's a better night than sometimes I'll like lay down for 5 minutes and like, oh, it's 3:30. What the, so it's hard. And I think that the longer it goes on, like up to now anyway, the more used to it you get. I mean, I texted you that there was like, we were maybe 2 days in, and then I had like a full on like freak out. And
yeah,
you and I have talked a lot about it. You've occasionally had those moments just, day to day in the outside world. In fact, right before this, there was one where you called me,
Yep.
You went to the DMV, and
I went to the DMV.
That'll do it to anybody.
Yeah, right. That was one of the worst ones I've had in a long time. It was like honestly kind of embarrassing, even though I feel like I'm always super open about this just because I've said it before. You never know who else is going through it. When I first started having this thing, I thought I was losing my mind. First I thought I was dying, then I thought I was going crazy. It's just nice to know that you're not completely nuts and there's other people out there that are going through it. So I always talk about it. But that being said, it was embarrassing at the DMV because it was just so bad. It was one of those ones where like I couldn't hold it. Like usually I'll have them and I can kind of get through it. And most people probably don't notice that well.
Sure.
This one or that much, but this one was so fucking huge that the guy, like I was like crouching down and legitimately hyperventilating. Like I was falling apart. And the guy behind me, poor guy, he was trying to be nice, asked if I was okay. And I told him it was a panic attack and he's like, oh, just breathe. But you could tell he had no idea what to do. And like he was but he was just like, but like trying to be nice. Very, very embarrassing.
Yeah, no, he was trying. And so my thing was that my mind just started taking into consideration everything that was going on. And I think that was early enough. And I've talked about this. There's the one night where I thought that it was a good idea to, look at news headlines or social media or something right before bed. And then it was just like, oh, I am not going to sleep. And I was having like, a lot of difficulty breathing, which of course, then this ties into the allergies. I'm like, oh, well, clearly I have it. And that's why I can't sleep, which that just made me more anxious. And, so then I'm reading about it and I'm like, oh my God. And I don't mind telling the Bladtcast Nation this because I told you this in the text. I was thinking about like, oh, Xia makes so much fun of me right now because I'm getting so worked up and I just couldn't stop shitting. There was so much shit. And I'm just like, this isn't one of the side effects. I'm like, this is good, right? And I'm just like, I even knew what it was. I'm like, at some point, I'm like, okay, I'm clearly, because I'd had a panic attack like once ever before this.
Yeah.
And to be fair, that's the only one that's happened during. But it's just, it's just like, oh my God, I can't believe all this. And there have been moments, where it's just like, oh, this is so fucked up. And what I've told you, and I've mentioned on other conversations on the Bladtcast, is it's usually like it's really hard when it's my kids, because usually like, Lucy's too. She doesn't really ask a lot of questions and things, but Felix will ask stuff like, he wanted to go to this restaurant that we go to on Fridays usually because he likes the ice cream place afterwards. So he was like on Monday, he's like, hey, can we go to, it's called Yala. It's a Mediterranean place. And he's like, can we go to Yala on Friday? And then Baked Bear is the ice cream place afterwards. I'm like, well, probably not, buddy, but maybe we can get it to go, that sort of a thing. And then when he asked me when the Easter egg hunt was going to be, and there's a big Easter egg hunt that we go to every year in Burbank. And then I'm like, oh man, that's like, and it's so hard to have to give him the answer, but you also like, you can't freak out, and it's like, well, you know what, I think we're going to do it at home this year. And I know, we're probably not going to do it out on the patio. Maybe we'll do it inside. So ever since then, he's been talking about like, the Easter egg hunt, it's going to be inside. And so he's okay with it, but
he's just happy to hunt eggs.
Yeah, right. Exactly. He's just fine with it. And
that's kind of the great thing about kids is that it kind of seems like no matter what happens, if you manage to just be like, oh, we're just going to do this, like they're still excited to do whatever the thing is. It's like, we can still do it. Great. It's going to be here. It's whatever. Like my niece is kind of like that. If you tell her, oh, well, we're not going to do that, we're going to do this, she doesn't get all like disappointed. She's just like, oh, okay, we're going to do this thing instead. And it's kind of cool. As an adult, I feel like there's less expectation for kids, or they're just like happy to do whatever.
Yeah, and it's like, you sort of manage their expectations. You're delivering them a fun thing. It just might not be in the way that they expected. And, I don't know, Felix being 4, I think is helpful in a lot of ways. And look, I've talked about this. I think I've talked about it. We're doing a thing where we're actually going with our kids to another family's house. And we were in early on this. We go to the other family's house. Neither us nor the other family go and socialize with anyone else. And it's good because there's some gaps in childcare for all 4 of us because of the way that we're all working remotely. So the idea that this other family was going to have a nanny share, it wasn't like they have a nanny. They were going to have different people coming in like every day. And I'm like, well, that seems like exactly what you shouldn't be doing. And then our house is very cramped. So the idea that we were getting our kids, it's evened out to 3 days a week. It's like, it's great. They have somewhere to go. It's like 5 minutes away. It gives us structure. It's like, we're trying to get out the door by 9. It's usually 9:30, but we're getting dressed. It's like the same routine we had when they would go to school, and that I think that helps. And then also they're interacting. So it's Felix's best friend's family. His little brother is from Lucy's class, and they are, all of a sudden they're getting to be like best friends because they're just they're like looking around for each other. It's like, well, where's the one I can play with? Enough of these big kids, And it's, I think it's great because it's definitely a little bit more normal. No, they're not going to school, but they're going somewhere. They're seeing other people. Heather's doing God's work, as it is, as they would say, in terms of helping to generate like good activities for them. And there are these gaps though, where a lot of times it's one adult. It's been me a few times. It's been Heather a few times. There's one adult and 4 kids for like a whole hour. And just the idea is like, it's horrifying. Like these are relatively good kids, all of them. It's just like, oh my God, there's 4. And then there's me. They could definitely take me out if they worked together. If they did the old sitting on each other's shoulders and put on a trench coat and a hat, sort of, that you see in the cartoons. I'm like, oh yeah, these kids are definitely taking me down. So anyway, I find that all of that works, and it's good to have the structure. And I do find people that just don't have anything to work on. I don't know what they're going to do. But then, Z, I don't know how much of this you're seeing, but you're seeing people who are like writing and being super productive. How do we feel about those people who are using their lockdown time and becoming better people? They're the ones who post and say, shouldn't we, how about we learn a language or how to play an instrument?
All right, well, I was with it up until that part.
Yeah, well, that's why I went that far.
Because I was like, I mean, yeah, no, that's good to like keep productive and do things and whatnot, but at the same time, learn a language. I mean, I'm such an asshole. It's probably good to learn another language. I think it's cool when.
I mean, it's not very useful right now.
Not very useful right now. No, that's true.
It's like, well, I guess I could Zoom with someone, someone who speaks Spanish. I could try and dust off my high school Spanish,
Oh God, I didn't even take Spanish in high school. I took French, and I still can't speak anything. Because to me, the idea of going to France was really exciting.
Yeah,
but
plus you were always a fan of the kissing. Oh, we laughed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Croissant. That's my French.
I'm sure you were an excellent French student.
Baguette. Yeah, my teacher didn't hate me at all.
Yeah. I alluded to it. I'm trying to figure out how wisely are you using your time? Have you watched Tiger King?
No, I haven't watched Tiger King. I've been watching the things I've been watching. I will like to watch light stuff. I'm not watching really anything very heavy.
Oh yeah,
because of this whole situation. Yeah, I'm
just interject. I can't understand how anyone right now is watching new episodes of The Walking Dead. I'm like, no. It's like maybe binge it, when things are normal. But I'm like, I can't imagine watching that.
It's too much right now.
There was a Twitter poll from our friends at Popcorn Talk about which one, Infinity War or Endgame. I'm like, neither. My emotions can't handle. I don't want to watch either of those movies. Like, no. Not right now. I don't even want to see one of the lighthearted moments from either of those movies because it'll just remind me,
Yeah, no. Right now, I'm focusing on. We're watching the Hotel Impossible. And
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
It's from the Travel Channel. We just came across it on Prime. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's just this dude, this Italian dude from fucking Brooklyn, who goes around. But he's a very successful hotelier or whatever. I don't know. He runs hotels, and he's really good at it. And he goes around and fixes up failing hotels. So it's kind of like the Ramsey of the hotel world.
Yeah, or who's the guy from Bar Rescue? It's
John Taffer.
John Taffer. So he's like, there's like those guys. No, I could see that being fun. Yeah, but and that's definitely the thing. I mean, I think that getting my news sort of filtered through comedy, it helps a little bit. Jim and Sam are talking to people who are other like New York comedians who like call in and talk about what they're doing and that sort of thing. And that helps. And that day that I alluded to where I had the panic attack, that was one thing that started to calm me down because it was like 4 a.m. and I'm like, oh, I know that they're doing a show 7 Eastern, and listening to them and like just being stupid. And I actually was able to like laugh. And I was like starting to calm down. And then Lucy needed breakfast. And I'm like, great, I had something to focus on. And then before I knew it, it was like everything was fine. And so that's when I texted you like, oh, you would have made fun of me.
Just because of the amount you were shitting.
So much, just so many times. I just, and that's already after we started like, trying to ration toilet paper, which I was like,
you can't spend that much time shitting. There's no toilet paper.
The one thing I can't be using is the toilet paper. Yeah, but I mean, so what I'm interested in is lighter stuff, and friends of ours have done a virtual like game night, and we've gone to these in-person game nights a couple of times. Usually it's like once or twice a year, and it's all right and it's fun. It's just a little bit of an ordeal because they live out in Marina Del Rey, but then doing it online, it's like, okay, this was fun, and we kind of like Heather and I both had fallen asleep, so we ducked in for like an hour, and it's like it's fun to have an activity like that. It's nice to have something to take off your mind. But yeah, I'm trying to like watch definitely lighter stuff. And up until the end of last week, I was still doing after shows for AfterBuzz TV for Curb Your Enthusiasm and Star Trek Picard. So I was current on those shows. I had to keep watching them, which, in some ways helped. But now it's like, all right, now I can actually watch anything. And I'm like, I'm fascinated by Tiger King, you know, the little bit that I've seen and hearing people talk about it. And I feel like one day I'm going to understand all the memes, Xia, you know, maybe one day we'll know more about Tiger King. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, there are definitely stuff that I'd be better suited watching, you know, than Tiger King, you know?
Yeah, no, I think that's too much right now. I'm not into anything that's like, I know it's probably super entertaining, but there's also a small part of me that's like, no, too many people are talking about it. I'm not fucking watching it. There's like a weird.
Yeah, I get that totally. Yeah,
I don't know why. It's like a weird. This is. I'm one of those shitty people who's like, this is too popular. I'm not watching it. But well, like for some reason, when stuff like that takes off, sometimes I'm like, fuck that. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
I was kind of like that for that Netflix movie Bird Box, which I think is hysterical to think about right now because I was talking to my wife about this morning. Think about Bird Box and how everybody was watching it. And would everybody have been so excited to watch it if they knew that a year from now we were all going to be living Bird Box, basically? You know?
Probably
we're all just
not.
Like, you can't go outside. And, you know, the way that she like talks to the kids in it, it's like, you don't touch anything. And it's like the way that we have to talk to our kids is like, it's like, I know you have to run up to the gate. Don't touch the gate. Daddy's going to open the gate. Don't touch the car. I don't know who's touched the car. What are you doing touching the car?
Right. Don't touch any door handles.
Don't touch anything.
Yeah.
You know, so I think whatever we can consume that's light, that's fun. Our Bladtcast friend Will Sterling and I, we did something fun. We did a live tweet of something that's still on the table. We listened to the first Kiss Alive record and we just tweeted our thoughts during it. And that was like 75 minutes of pure distraction. We've got a live tweet of the original Spider-Man coming up for us, for at least the Marvel Movie News gang. And that's actually why this is out, is because I figured that I'm going to show it off because
And that's on Netflix, right? The first Sam Raimi Spider-Man?
Hulu.
Hulu, that's what I meant to say.
It's going to be on Hulu.
Yeah. I haven't seen it in quite a while.
No, that's how it came up. We were just talking about a movie to watch, and I'm like, oh, because I've wanted to rewatch it for kind of a while. Like, honestly, probably since the first Tom Holland Spider-Man. I've just been like, I should really rewatch that because I like that one. The second one is still my favorite, the one with Doc Ock, with Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, because I don't know, it's just like the second Spider-Man and the second X-Men. I think that they did the setup. They spent a little bit more money. It was in the right gear. And then both of them fell completely off the fucking cliff with the third movies. Third X-Men, third Spider-Man. Just, it's not even hot garbage. It's ice cold, like month-old garbage that you could poke with a stick and you're like, what the fuck is this?
That's true. Why didn't we rewatch the third one? Come on.
Yeah, because I want to see Topher Grace's Venom. Yeah.
Topher Grace.
Yeah, which by the way, I like Topher Grace. You know, it's
he was kind of a dick to
He's
me.
in a great movie called Take Me Home Tonight. It's the movie where Chris Pratt and Anna Faris met. And
I like that movie.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I don't know. I'm a sucker for. I think that movie is also set in like 1988, by the way. So it's nice, you know. But in any case, so we're keeping busy, but you know, more than anything else, these are more mustaches.
Yes, I'm getting really weird. That's one thing that's happening. The more time I spend inside and doing, I'm getting real weird. I was weird to begin with. I'm getting weirder. It's not good. That part's not good.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Healthy.
And like you're a couple floors up in your apartment building, so it's a little different. So it's like, even though we're in a townhouse, I mean, if I want to go outside and stay on the patio where I can control my interaction with germs, I can.
I don't have a patio.
There's actually a balcony off of
don't have that either.
Of Felix's room.
I live in a trash apartment.
Yeah, and well, this is like a moderately white trash townhouse, but it just happens to have a couple amenities. Woo-hoo. So it's like I can go outside, I can get some fresh air. At least as long as they tell us we can get fresh air. There's going to be the day where like, oh yeah, no more air. Like you can't.
Nobody's allowed to leave for anything.
Nobody can go walking for exercise. Also, stop breathing. You're using up the air that other people need.
They're saying that it's not even at its peak yet. Like it's going to hit its peak in like a couple weeks or something like that.
April 15th is today is April 2nd. So we got a little bit less than 2 weeks, and that's just the peak. And you're just like, you see all this stuff and you're like, oh my God. And I really stick to the toughest time. What I was about to say is I stick to not taking in news after a certain point at night. And I also try not to do it first thing in the morning. One, my kids are, demanding breakfast, but also it's like, I don't want to start off the day that way either. But when I'm doing my prep work for Dennis Miller's podcast, that's unfortunately I'm up late on Sunday night, and that's when I'm usually having to poke around at the news. And I'm like, oh man, there's gonna be the day that I see something. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna sleep for the week now, So yeah, and it's like you hear these numbers and you're like, well, this is horrifying, and then you can only, it's like, look, everybody for the most part is doing what they think they can, but then you have people who over this past weekend, they had to arrest people for having an engagement party at their house where there were 50 people and there were like kids all over the lawn, and it's just like, think about the kids, I mean, like you adults want to be assholes, but what about all these kids that are hanging around? And then also, then there were those morons in Florida who all went to spring break, and then I don't know, like dozens of them are suddenly have coronavirus, even though like they all knew. And there were those videos that they filmed of people like, yeah, man, I'm not going to let it get in the way of me partying. And I'm like, yeah, you probably should. Yeah. Well, they played them on Jim and Sam. So that's how I usually hear most of them.
Well, yeah.
And it's like, yeah, they're not going to get in the way of me partying, man. If it happens, it happens. And I think I talked about this before. So I don't want anybody to get it, even the spring breakers, except for one person. There's one person who I'm glad got it. And it was the guy who made the video where he licked the toilet. And he was talking about, like basically he's like, I'm young, fuck this. I'm not worried about it. And then he got it. And I was like, all right, that person deserves it. Nobody else deserves it. Even the spring breakers, they're kids. They're dumb. This guy's just an asshole. And
dude,
what I hope happens to him is that he makes a full recovery and he finds this to be miraculous. And I don't know, he like finds Jesus and he becomes, a missionary, and he goes like, yeah, his life becomes that. Or he's like, I'm going to become a scientist. I'm going to try and find a cure. He's going to do something, and that's the only way that story has a good ending. But
the thing with the coronavirus thing that these people keep doing, it's like, oh, I'm young and I'll probably be fine. It's like, yeah, you will. You probably will. Most people that are getting it are recovering. Like, let's be real. Most people that are getting it, it just sucks and you're getting sick, but it's just kill. So like, and if you're saying like, well, yeah, we'll be fine. So basically what you're saying is if anyone has underlying or health conditions or are old, go fuck yourself. You're all just going to die because I'm selfish because I'm going to be fine.
And obviously we're not talking about the people who need to like go and see, a relative that can't get out. And it's like,
that's different.
For whatever reason can't get food delivered. I get all that, but yeah, this is the people who just like, they go out and they do everything. And look, here in LA, they had to close the beaches
and parks.
And the parks because everybody crammed into the hiking trails. And it was like, look how close you are to everyone, I feel like growing up a New Yorker, I am well prepared for this kind of social distancing because you see somebody on your side of the street, you immediately put your head down and cross and walk to the other side of the street. You don't look at them. You don't interact with them. It's like, that's what people want. The only difference is because I'm here, usually the person will say hi. They appreciate the fact that you've crossed, or if we're walking with the kids, we will stand off to the side, let somebody else pass.
I would say that that's true. But what I've noticed, I mean, for just my personal experience, what I've noticed in my area is that people are taking this opportunity to be assholes. Instead of being like, you can still be like kind of nice, but people are, like you said, they're doing that thing where it's like, look down, don't look at anybody, be shitty, fucking give, like, I'm getting a lot of that. And I'm like, dude, we just don't have to be close to each other. You don't need to ignore everybody and be an asshole.
Yeah, I haven't.
Like, it's a weird.
And it's like when I am at the grocery store, of course, if I walk in front of someone, under normal circumstances, I'm going to say, excuse me. The difference is now I'm like halfway down the aisle away from them, like, excuse me, sorry, so that they know I'm coming. And I'm like, all right, how you want to react when I walk in front of you? Do you want to like, put your back up against like, do you need to do that move where you're like, all right. And for the most part, people are fine. People are nice. And the people who work at somewhere like a grocery store, they're always very nice. And there's sort of always this weird exchange where they're like telling you to like stay safe is the new thing that you say to people at the end. It's like, it's almost like saying like Happy New Year or something,
Yeah,
it's like, that's what everybody says. And it's hard to imagine, we're talking about people having to go in and do their job because they're in media, but like, if you're working in a grocery store, let's take the possible exposure to germs, corona or otherwise, out of it. Just how much of an asshole are even if 5% of the people that are in a grocery store in a day, like how obnoxious are they? Like, you don't have any eggs. They're like, yeah, we know we don't have any eggs. That's where there's a sign that says we don't have any fucking eggs.
It's also the reason we don't have eggs is because of all you assholes coming in here and buying all the fucking eggs.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Stop hoarding.
Yeah. And it's just like, you feel bad for the people that do it. And obviously, look, they can quit their job if they want to, but then, they don't have any money coming in.
They don't have any money coming in.
Yeah.
Like,
and
that's
then also,
I'm
like, oh man, if you work at the supermarket, do you get to like, go shopping before the doors open and like get all the good stuff? It's like if you knew
I hope that they would get that perk, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, they deserve it. It's like in the old days when you would when you had to like we had to line up to buy concert tickets at a record store. Yes, I know I'm old. Stop.
I know.
But
you are.
at like 10 a.m. the tickets went on sale. The door didn't open until 10:02 because everybody who worked in the fucking record store bought all the good tickets. So even though you were number one, you weren't buying it's like you got to good in, you got good tickets. Look, I got like second row seats to see Tom Petty and Long Island or something once because I waited in the line like that. So it's like, all right, it's cool. But that the people ahead of you were always, getting something else. So I think that's what's happening here. And I'm okay with it. I think that, at the very least, if they're not getting combat pay, which they deserve, I don't know how much shopping you've done. I haven't seen anybody being shitty. Sorry, excuse me.
I haven't
seen anybody being shitty at a supermarket.
No, not yet. I've gone to the store. I'm pretty much where I'm going to the store once a week, which is sort of my thing. And then I stock up kind of on what I need for the week. And then I did get like a few perishables just in case. So I've got, some canned stuff and some box of pasta and stuff like that. But for the most part, I'm still kind of shopping like normal, where I go once a week and get all the fresh stuff and things that I need and whatnot. And I have noticed that the stores are getting better. They're less wiped out. Going in there is almost like normal again.
Yeah, I was in on Sunday and they had bread and milk, and there was a point where like those sections were completely decimated. And then like not only was there bread, there were like English muffins and bagels and hot dog rolls and hamburger buns. And you're like, all right, that's when like when you can have your luxury bread items.
Well, I think that people have like stopped panicking to a point, because yes, this is scary and it's not good, and we all need to practice our social distancing and stay inside, and things are shut down, and that's really good. But I also think that first of all, I think we're handling it okay enough that like this, hopefully this isn't going to be the end of the world, and you don't need to.
Yeah, I hope not.
I hope not. And I think we will come out the other side of this and things will be fine. Like, a little worried about the economy. Definitely don't want to lose hundreds of thousands of people. That's awful. Like, that's first and foremost, that's the most awful thing. Second most awful thing, the economy. You gotta be real careful about that, because that's how great depressions start.
They've done this like $2 trillion like stimulus, and everybody already knows like, it's not enough. It's like,
not enough.
It's going to help for a little bit, but it's like probably another few trillion,
That's the one-time payment that they're giving everybody of $1,200. That's really not doing jack shit. Yeah. Like, well, it's like
for us, it's $3,400 because
for us it's $2,400 too.
We get an extra $500 for each of the kids, and I'm like, man, it's like those kids don't pay taxes. Nice. that's a cool $500 in my pocket.
Woo, yeah, no, I mean,
so look, there's all of this stuff to worry about, but I think it's normalizing at least a little bit. Like when I was in the supermarket, there was toilet paper. I didn't need it, so I didn't buy it. But
good, that's what you should be doing.
Yeah, right. But there was a point a couple weeks earlier where I didn't have a ton, and I walked into a Target. I talked about this. It was like what I would imagine a Saturday Night Live sketch would be like right now, where you walk in and everybody's holding it because it was there. So I'm like, oh, well, I should buy it. And it is normalizing, and you're starting to see the stuff that you go for. Right now I'm just on a search for white eggs, and it's not just because they're the superior egg. No, it's
because they're cheaper.
No. Well, yes, one, it's cheaper, but I just want to be able to dye Easter eggs with the kids. It's that simple.
Oh, right. Okay.
So,
I didn't even think about that. I was just
trying to find it like 2 weeks early. Yeah. So, and I actually bought the organic brown eggs because the expiration date was much further. So even though I'm like, oh, this is a full like $2 more a dozen than I want, I'm going to buy 2 dozen of the brown eggs anyway. You know, and that was early enough where I couldn't buy the white eggs for Easter. It was still too early. So it's like, if that's my biggest problem, that I can't find white eggs for Easter egg dyeing, I think I'm going to be okay. You know?
Yeah. And I think it's getting to that point where it's normalizing, where, you know, hopefully people are realizing they don't need to freak out and hoard literally everything. Cause hey, you're still going outside. You're still able to go grocery shopping. You're still able to do those essential things that you need to do. Banks are still open.
Yeah.
They're keeping the essentials open to keep things going. There's not going to be any food shortages. If we can stop this by actually social distancing, like for real, if everybody stops going outside and we can kill this spread until they can figure out vaccination, well, hopefully before that, so they can kill this spread.
The vaccination's like 12 to 18 months away.
Yeah,
and as I've said many times, when the vaccination comes out, you know, a lot of people still aren't going to get it. I'm not even talking about anti-vaxxers. I'm talking about do you get a flu shot every year?
No, I've never gotten a flu shot.
No, most people don't. I do. I'm more diligent to do it once we had kids. That's when I'm like, all right, I don't want the kids to get the flu. So that's when I started getting it every year. But there would be plenty of years where it's like, you know, flu season starts around October. And like by the time it's March, I'm like, I never did get the flu shot. You know, what am I going to do now? So,
well, that's the thing. The flu kills, and I know the numbers aren't close, but my point is the flu does kill people.
Yeah,
you never think about that. Yeah. I never think about it. For me, it's like, oh, I'd get the flu. I'll be sick for a week. Oh, big deal.
And the difference is that if you have the flu, you know you have the flu, and you don't go run around and visiting, you know, elderly relatives.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Like when you get the flu, you know you're sick. That is the scary thing about coronavirus. There's so many people that have it that aren't actually having symptoms.
Yeah. No. And I think that's what makes it horrifying. And I had sort of like awful, like apocalyptic conversation with a friend that was like, oh, imagine if this was something like Ebola virus. I'm like, no, Ebola virus would never spread this way because
they would get that shit quarantined
and you're going to drop dead before you even get to the airport in like the Congo or Zimbabwe or wherever it starts. You're not going to get, and also, you know, you have it right away. So
and that's why the Ebola virus didn't spread like that. Yeah. Did you ever read that book, The Hot Zone?
I don't think I did. No.
Oh, it's legitimately terrifying, but really good. It's about the Ebola virus.
Probably not for right now.
No, not for right now. I read it in high school.
Yeah.
Back when, like, you know, when you're young and you think everything's going to be fine. Yeah. It was whatever. But it was still like, it's scary. It's fascinating, though. It's a really good book.
No, I did see that movie Outbreak about the with Dustin Hoffman, and like, you know, somebody goes to the movie theater and like coughs. And look, that's a whole other conversation to have, is that I wonder when things are back to normal, how comfortable people are going to be, like going to, let's just, you know, you start small, like, okay, going to a friend's house where you're going to have 20 people over. Okay. You're probably okay with that. I know you don't have 20 friends, but I'm talking to everybody else.
Yeah, I was going to say I've got 5 friends, and most of them don't live near me at all.
And one of them you're talking to right now.
One of them I'm talking to right now. The other one's in Hawaii.
And then the other one's in the other room, and you're married to him. So, you know, I think we've gone through all of your friends.
Gone through all my friends.
In any case, you know, and then it's like, are you going to, when do people want to go to the movie theaters? Like, when do they reopen? So like, say they reopen in July. Do you want to go in August? Do you want to go in September? Do you want to go never?
See, that's the thing. People are going to start to be, I've talked to somebody else about this, how they're like, look, I don't know if I'm going to go back to like going to gyms and like, even when this stuff happens, it's when stuff reopens, people are just sort of thinking like, look, I still don't, like, I think everybody's going to be really cautious for a long time. They're not going to want to do the normal things. Some people are going to be like, fuck it, I'm going right back to regular life. But
look, I'm going to still go to the bathhouses with my discreet robe that's open. You know, I mean, that's never going to change. But for other people, they might not want to go to the gym. I don't know, but see, my gym, it's only $10 a month. I'm like, no, that's a steal. They better not charge me for this month, by the way. I just thought of that. You know, like, hey, wait a minute.
Too.
Yeah. And, you know,
I'm going to cancel my gym membership.
There are companies that have stepped up, you know, speaking of movie theaters, like AMC made sure to let everybody know, like, don't worry, we're not going to charge you for your AMC A-list while our theaters are closed. Like, we're not.
That's super cool, because I pay for that.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And it's like, but I mean, there are a lot of companies that are probably, with anything with an auto pay, they're hoping you forget. Like my gym, like if I call them, maybe I'm like, yeah, why don't you freeze that for 2 months and then I'll come back. But I don't know. So are you letting yourself think? I mean, cause me, it's like, I got to think about the other end of this, you know? And when do you think, like, this is all hypothetical. Say July 1st, movie theaters reopen. Mm-hmm. What day would you be comfortable going back to a movie theater?
I'd probably go in maybe like August. I'd give it a month. I think I would give it like if it reopened in July, I would probably give it 1 month to sort of see how things are going and then test the waters. Like, I don't think I'm going to be one of those psychos that like, I'm never going anywhere ever again, or I'm never like, but I would very slowly and cautiously start going out again. Cause I'm one of those people, but you don't know because there was, I think that for the most part, I probably would be fine. Again, you don't want to spread it to other people. Like you want this to not become a bigger thing. That being said, there was like a 36-year-old principal in Brooklyn who died. And there's a 25-year-old kid who has no underlying health conditions. He's a lacrosse player.
There's 20-year-olds and there's exceptions. And
yeah,
I do wonder if like when if you're able to have the time to really dig into the DNA, is there like a condition that they didn't know they had, like that 20-year-old? Maybe there is something that they just didn't know. It wasn't diagnosed yet. And that's not even necessarily the case, but you hear those exceptions. And yeah, I think like a month of there not being any horror stories of like, oh yeah, these people at the movie theater all got it. Because then if that happens, I'm like, I'm just waiting for the DVD. You know?
Yep.
I'm like, because like if it opens on July 1st, I'm like, all right, yeah, maybe I'll go see Wonder Woman on like August 5th or whatever the new release.
Right.
You know? But then it's also like, you know, on like Tuesday afternoon, and I'm gonna buy 4 seats and not let anybody sit near me.
Yeah.
You know, like, nope,
well, I think people are going to start to do that anyway. Is like it's going to be where you go and sit. Like maybe they'll start when I feel like I talked to somebody about this. I can't remember who it was, but when they start going back to the movies, they might only sell at 50% capacity.
Yeah, well, that's what they did beforehand. Right. And you know, Zach, who we do Marvel Movie News with, he went to the movies sort of like the last weekend that you could go. And just out of curiosity, I would check on the AMC app, and you would see they have the map of where the seats are, and there were like clusters of like, you know, a couple people, but they're all like so far apart in different spots in the theater back when they were still open. And I think that, the capacity is going to be lower. You know, sporting events, you know, I mean, God, Dodger Stadium holds 55,000 people. So what do you do? Like, and so say that like, okay, this year, you know what, we're going to play the sports in front of no fans. What are you going to do next year when it opens? And it's like, there's going to be 55,000 people there. Are you in? And then I don't know what the answer is. I know right now, I think my wife's answer is I don't want to go to anything, you know?
Yeah.
But when, you know, again, it's another thing that can normalize the way that the grocery stores have. There'll be a point where you're like, well, you know, all these people have gone and it's okay.
Right.
But, you know, I don't want to end our conversation on a terribly horrifying note, but they do draw parallels to what they call the Spanish flu of 1918.
Yeah.
And the Spanish flu had a bad round, but the second wave was what really fucked people up. And because people thought like, okay, well, we kicked the Spanish flu. But what believe it or not, we have learned some things from history.
We have learned some things from history. We also have a lot, scientifically, we're a lot further along than we were in 1918. So that's what we have going for us.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's things like in 1918, very specifically, they told the city of Philadelphia, don't have this, I think it's 1918 or 19, I think it's 1918, don't have this parade for veterans returning home from what you just called the war at that point, but World War I. And they did have this huge parade, and it spread, and you know, and then there were all these cases there, and all these people died. And then you had a city like St. Louis that didn't hold the parade, and it's like, oh yeah, they were. Of course, people got sick, but they were healthier, like by a wide margin.
Right,
so
and that's the thing.
That's when I started to take it a little bit more seriously. Was canceling when you cancel the St. Patrick's Day parade in New York and in Boston, you're like, oh, this shit's for real. You know, it's like, you know, you're like, they're just flat out like, just, we're not having this event. They didn't play the NCAA tournament, the March Madness tournament, which, you know, in hindsight makes sense because of all these NBA players got it, and they would be playing at a lot of the same venues. You know, I mean, Will Sterling and I went to see Kiss at the Staples Center on March 3rd, and I remember the day because I kept, you know, was very mindful of the fact that I was in an arena with 20,000 people, sort of like right before this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And now, you know, it was knock on wood, you're more than 3 weeks away from that, and you're like, I feel okay about that now, but you know, Staples Center is sort of this, like a lot of these NBA players, like they all, like one of the common threads is they were all there, you know? So
right.
I don't know what the solution is, you know, and I don't know. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think it's probably gonna be a while, and I think it should be a while before there's any big like concerts or like. I don't think that Comic-Con is gonna happen.
Comic-Con, and look, this is always evolving. My comments on Comic-Con in the middle of March were basically like, the economy can't handle being shut down by that. I think that's a disaster. But at the same time, it's like the bigger disaster becomes when you have all these people get together and then they get sick. So
right.
I think we're pretty close to the point where Comic-Con won't happen. We're seeing stuff get canceled, in June and July now. At first it was everything in April. April was just like flat out canceled. And then, May, and, it's stretching further and further.
The other thing too with that is that if you say you're like, yeah, okay, well, things will be fine now, we're not going to cancel it. How many people are going to go? Are you going to sell that many tickets? Is it going to be worth it for you to put all that money and that time and energy into throwing this big event and then no one goes?
I know. Like July 25th, I have tickets to see Weezer and Green Day at Dodger Stadium. I'm supposed to go with my wife, and I'm like, man, I want to see that concert. But you know what would be even better? If they move it to July 25th, 2021.
Yeah. Yeah. Just wait a year.
Just like, and look, there's a lot of stuff that's doing that. They're just punting things to the next year because they're like, we just don't know what's happening. Xia, I don't want to end the conversation on a bummer, but I will trick you into coming on the show again soon, because it's always as much as I play up how much I am annoyed by you. It is always a delight to talk to you. I did think it was funny that our little inside joke from Spider-Man Far From Home just became a reality with this sort of text exchange of "I miss you." And I miss you more while we're in the same room. I was like, no, I actually do miss you. We always had so much fun. We filmed those videos that seemed like a lifetime ago where, we're giving each other birthday presents and eating breakfast sandwiches. And I hope that stuff resumes soon. But this is Bladtcast episode 369. And I very specifically,
I love that I got on 369.
I very specifically filmed an extra episode earlier in the week because I was like, I can't put her on 360. I have to put her on 369.
Yep.
So right where you belong, right in the middle of the 69 is Xia Anderson. And Xia, I think everybody should follow you, and they should do what I did.
Check out my Twitch.
Install Twitch just so you can see what Xia's up to. Because look,
come hang out. It's fun.
It's like you play video games, but there's other stuff. So let people know what they see from you.
I eat
Twitch.
Foods and snacks too. One of the shows that I do on Tuesdays is I eat snacks. And it's basically just stuff I've never tried before. It doesn't necessarily have to be new. Some of the stuff is new. Sometimes it's just something I never got to trying. So it's me just trying snacks, and we talk about news, which lately has just been the coronavirus and what's going on. But it's fun. It's just like a fun hangout, eat snacks. It's a good time. And then also playing video games. I'm playing Ori and the Will of the Wisps and Skyrim right now, but I'm going to add some more stuff, and I really like it.
Yeah, and the next time we do this, let's both share some snacks, but not the canned mac and cheese.
Oh yeah, if you want to watch that, I gotta get my YouTube up. The canned mac and cheese is fucking awful.
I mean, not surprising, but good for you that you tried it.
I did.
And of course, Twitter at Xia_land, and Instagram, where you can see many photos that I took. We had a fun exchange about that. There was one of your very racy, sexy.
You see my butt.
Yeah, you can definitely see some butt on there at Xia_land.
You want to see my butt? Go there.
And Matt and Casey said, Christian, I hope you didn't take one of those. And I said no, because there would be vomit all over the lens, because that's what we do. That's what we say. But sometimes saying that you make me want to throw up is the nice way to say I love you.
Yeah.
But anyway, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ, and please follow the Bladtcast at Bladtcast. Let us know what you think about all the things that we talked about, and the Bladtcast on Facebook. Give us the old thumbs up. That's all for this installment, but we will see you next time on the Bladtcast.
Oh, there's the Zoom meeting, and I have to pee so bad. I'll be right back.
Pee. Yeah,
I'm gonna pee.
Fine. All right. And this is still in the recording, so Bladtcast people are gonna watch you get up and pee. Leave your mic
Bladtcast
on.
people, I'm gonna go pee. Huh?
Leave your mic on. We want to hear it.
That's for my OnlyFans page.
Oh yeah, there you go. We'll talk about that next time.